evening, folks. Thank you all for joining us tonight. There's a couple people still getting signed in, but we'll let them trickle in and others will trickle in as well. Real briefly, my name is Jan Rather. I'm the Infrastructure Engagement Specialist in the Mayor's Office with the City of Pittsburgh. Joined by folks from DOMI here tonight to talk about changes to the Forbes signal replacement project. Real quick, want to thank Waverly Presbyterian Church for hosting us tonight. Really glad so many of you could make it out. For those folks that are joining via Zoom, thank you also for taking time out of your evening. We'll try and get you out of here by 8 so that we can all watch the Steelers hopefully win tonight. I apologize for putting the meeting on that same day, but like I said, we'll get you all out of here. I hear you all live pretty close, so I'm sure you're not very far from your TVs. So got a short agenda for the evening. Mostly I'll do some introductions, go over some groundworks for the course of the evening. We'll have DOMI then take over to talk about the purpose of the project, some of the background. They're going to propose their recommended alternative for the intersection, talk a little bit about cost and timeline, and then there'll be some opportunity for summary and questions. And if you're on Zoom, please put your questions in the chat and we'll try and follow up with them in the room as well. So real quick, some introductions. We're joined tonight by Mike Malik, Municipal Traffic Engineer with the Department of Mobility Infrastructure. I don't know where he went, but there he is. Layla, and I'm going to mess up your name. Lila, and I'm going to mess up your last name too. But this is Lila.
Hi everyone, Lila Blackalawi.
Project Manager, and then Jeff Leonard, Planner with the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure. I'm Jan, and then we're joined by Community Liaison, new to the position, but has been with the city for a long time. She's the Community Liaison for all of the neighborhoods over in this area, so if you go to Squirrel Hill Urban Coalition, Regent Square Civic Association meetings, you'd likely see her at those meetings as well. So just some quick details for the meeting. I know that sometimes community meetings can be rather contentious, but I just want to make sure that we're seeing this as a place where all perspectives are welcomed and we can agree to disagree in peace. You all may have objections with the design, you may love the design, you may like the design, and your neighbor may hate the design, but this is really just an opportunity for folks to see what the city's proposed, provide feedback, and we can hopefully settle the disagreements over the course of the project. Again, we're going to save questions till the end of the presentation. That just gives our folks the opportunity to go through any information they have and maybe answer some of your questions through the course of the presentation. I think I mentioned this already, but if you're on Zoom, please submit your questions through the chat there. We'll be monitoring that at the end and asking those questions for you all. And I think we've provided these microphones here for people to ask questions at the end. And then lastly, most importantly, with that Steelers game deadline, respecting each other's time, speaking one at a time. We want to hear as many voices as we can, but also want to get people home. And then just agreeing to a shared ownership of these norms, pretty standard operating procedure for a meeting. Y'all have joined us in this space. We're glad you're here, glad you are here to provide input on this project. With that, I think I'll hand it over to DOMI, and then at the end of the meeting, if folks have questions that are not related to this project, I'll be over there with my colleague Ashley to take questions about that. And I just want to reiterate, the focus of this meeting is the Forbes and Braddock signal. I know there's been a lot of changes to the Forbes corridor over the years. I just asked, if you have questions about those, save those maybe till the very end when folks are starting to wrap up. I want to keep this on topic as possible with the time that we have. All right, thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Jeff Leonard. I'm a transportation planner in Domi. I'm just going to be setting the stage, providing a little context for the area. I know a lot of you are familiar with this area, but for those of you that aren't, I'll just be providing a little context. Okay, so the project purpose of the project is to make improvements to the Forbes Ave, Braddock Avenue intersection. And the focus of that is safety. So we'll be updating the traffic signal infrastructure, and we will be reconsidering the flow of traffic through this intersection and the way it is a key connection to the rest of the city for this neighborhood. The project location. So again, it's at the intersection of Forbes Avenue and Braddock. You can see here on this map. It's on the border of two neighborhoods, Point Breeze and Regent Square. And it borders two council districts, Council District 5, which is Council Member Warwick's council district, and Council District 9, which is Ricky Burgess's council district. In this area, we have places of worship, there's a business district, there's a park that draws a lot of recreation from all over the city, so it's a very important connection, not just for the people in this area, but for the entire city. Next, I'd like to talk about bicycle facilities. So eastbound, we have the new two-way cycle track along Forbes. Southbound along Braddock, there is a bike lane. Northbound along Braddock, north of Forbes Avenue, is a Sharrow, and there's no bicycle infrastructure south of Forbes Avenue on Braddock. So here you can see also we have bus stops. We've got the bike lane represented and the protected bike lanes. I'm going to talk a little bit about crash history. So here we have all of the crashes within 200 feet of the intersection through the years 2017 to 2021. 14 crashes in total. 4 hitting a fixed object. 3 rear end, 3 sideswipe collisions, 2 angle collisions, and 2 other, which these are just strictly the reported crashes, so I'm not saying these are all the crashes, just the crashes that had a police report filed. There were no pedestrian incidences from 2017 to 2021. Next, I'm going to talk a little bit about the background and schedule of this project. So the funding for this project is an 80-20 split between a grant, the Green Light Go application, or Green Light Go grant. The total project cost is $589,000. So in December 2021, we submitted for the PennDOT Green Light Go grant. In the summer of 22, we were awarded the grant. In September of 23, that's where we are now. We're having our first public meeting. In January of next year, the final design will be posted on our Engage page. I hope you all are familiar with that. We're going to have a link to that later that you guys can follow this project on. Construction will begin in the summer of 24, and in the winter of 24, this project will be completed. And with that, I'm going to pass off to Lila to get into the engineering details.
Hi everyone. As Jan said, I am the project manager on this project. So to start, I'm going to go over some survey results. We had a survey posted on our Engage page. We had over 250 respondents as of this morning. You can see that we have a nice variety of age. We asked the respondents about their primary mode of travel through the intersection. About half are private transit, and then half dispersed between biking, walking, public transit, and other. As far as intersection use, we asked people why they primarily use the intersection. We had a good variety between accessing the local businesses, commuting to work or school, visiting nearby Frick Park, or navigating the neighborhood. And then we also asked about the biggest concerns. And the 3 main concerns that we saw were pedestrian safety, traffic congestion, and cyclist safety. And we hope to address all of those concerns. So moving on to existing conditions, here is an aerial view of the intersection. And a few things to point out. The intersection currently runs in a pedestrian exclusive phase, which means when you press the button, it'll be called for all phases. And if you don't press it, then it won't be called. And then In the northwest corner, there is a median island that separates out the right turn lane, and there's a receiving lane there as well. And yeah, I think you all know the intersection. So now we will go ahead and talk about some design treatments and updates before we get into the proposed alternative. So we are going to improve the intersection layout. We are going to provide intersection bump outs to reduce the pedestrian crossing distances. And we are also adding detection for all approaches to improve the traffic flow. This is a very rough sketch of a proposed design. And so I'm going to talk about a few main points. There are 3 major changes that we're proposing. The first is this lane transition and a bike bump out on the Forbes Avenue eastbound approach. So that will connect the existing shared use path that was recently completed to the intersection and make an exclusive bike connection there. And in order to do that, we are shifting over these lanes. And so there will not be a receiving lane on this end because of change 2. So we're removing the island in the northwest corner. It is a major safety concern. In general, we try to get rid of those islands as much as possible. And then the third change is the change in the lane configuration on Braddock Avenue southbound approach. There is a right turn lane here currently. We are proposing to remove that right turn lane and extend the bike lane that ends a bit back from the intersection to complete this bicycle connection. And then we are proposing removing the left turn from this lane here. So with our traffic counts, there are very low volumes on that left turn, a couple cars an hour. And so removing that option would improve the flow of traffic through the intersection by not having that as a, the route around isn't too much, so that's not, okay, and we will have questions at the end. So now I'll get into a little bit of the technical detail. This is kind of difficult to explain, but I will do my best. So we are looking at the average travel delay here, and this is in minutes. So the no-build column is showing you what the current delay is, and this is with the traffic. There's a model that's created, and it spits out these numbers, so there's a lot that goes into it. But the no-build is the current delay that you see, and that's the average user delay. We have the AM peak period, the PM peak period, and then the midday peak period, which gives a better representation of most of the day. And then when you go to the proposed, so our proposed alternative assumes that the pedestrian push button is pressed somewhere between 0 and 75% of the time. So that's why you see a range there, because if it's pressed more, then you'll have more of a delay because you're waiting for the pedestrian phase. So that's the range of the proposed, and then we show the difference to kind of give a better understanding of what we're looking at here. You can see in most of the cases, we're decreasing the delay. There's one place in particular that does increase the delay more than our usual standard, and that is the southbound approach in the AM peak period. It's the 0.5 to 2.3, but that is once again just the AM peak period, and then when you look at the midday, it gives more of an idea for 20 of the 24 hours. So just a quick summary of our changes. So we're going to upgrade all the traffic signal infrastructure and then improve safety and traffic flow with a revised intersection layout, bump outs, and added detection. You can follow this project on the Engage page. Like I mentioned, there is that survey. The survey is still up, so if you'd like to participate, please feel free. And then this is the email to reach out if you would like to contact us.
Can you put it back?
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Then we'll move on to questions and answers.
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. My name is Francis. I'm a resident. We walked over tonight, as Layla said, or someone said. I just wanted to ask one question regarding when you're, I guess, going east on Forbes, you come down to the intersection and the right turn is made. I noticed that that one large tree has been cut and removed from the corner of the intersection. I was wondering if there was any thought given to restricting parking in that area from the corner of the intersection up to, say, where the fire hydrant is located. So that's my question. Could there be a consideration of restricting parking for that brief period or that brief length of street from the corner to the fire hydrant? I've noticed many times when there are a lot of people in the park, the buses really can't make the turn, and I actually was involved in an accident with one.
Yeah, could you?
Yeah.
I have never been in a public meeting before where someone wants to restrict parking.
Well, that's my comment. That's all I have. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I fully agree. Man, let me give me 1 second if I could. We'll look into it. Just to be clear, you're talking about a right turn from eastbound Forbes Avenue onto southbound Braddock. You are suggesting increasing the no parking zone further south towards leaving the city to make that turning movement better.
Yes.
It's a great comment. We'll look into it.
Yes.
Yeah, this is helpful. Someone, you got it. Also, if you want. So,
It's right there.
Yes.
There it is. Right there, yeah, that's, yes.
So where that
On the
Across the street,
where that car is turning. Oh, wait, where'd it go?
There are cars parked there. They're not, yeah, they're,
the construction, but the cars.
they're right there.
That's where you're talking about,
Yes.
right where zero is.
Yes, exactly. See, that tree has been removed.
okay.
That tree is.
We want that tree back for sure.
I'm going to wait till you come up to the mic to answer that question.
He does slow traffic at one point.
No, yeah. I usually don't get in the business of making promises in meetings. I'm almost certain that's fine.
Don't worry about it.
So we're taking the note. Thanks for that's the comment I'm looking for. Thank you. That's helpful.
Hi there, my name is John Danzak. I live on the 600 block of South Braddock Avenue. I'm disappointed about losing that left turn, but I'll live. I usually go down East End.
Thank you.
It's no big deal. I have a couple of comments about the intersection itself, but also then about the ecosystem around it, which is outside of the scope of the project, so the project manager is going to have a heart attack. But it's outside of the scope, but I think it would be good if DOMI considered this, because the intersection doesn't just exist in a vacuum, it exists being fed by downstream things. But as far as the intersection goes, it's seasonally used by pedestrians. The park is most used in spring and summer and through fall, like late spring, summer, and fall, and then the pattern totally changes. It would be good if there was some seasonal programming associated with the intersection signal to optimize it in the winter when you have more people in cars heading on the road versus summertime. It is extremely busy the second point is it is extremely busy at peak seasons, but an off-peak, let's say at 9 o'clock at night, get 9 to 10, it gets pretty dead. Can sensors be actively used so that traffic can be enabled? That would be a huge improvement to the intersection. Currently, there's no right turn on red at the intersection. People ignore it. You see people do that all the time. Could it be restricted, possibly use with a variable sign when the intersection is busy and you do want signalized control, have no right turn on red, but then late at night, who cares? The intersection's not being used. So a variable sign for right turn on red would be nice. And turn-only signals for safety. I mean, you basically coming off of Forbes, making a turn, it's really gets challenging. So if there can be a turn-only time when cars can turn, that I think could facilitate flow. And you guys are smarter about that than me. And finally, upstream, downstream. I'm not sure if it's worth trying to do upstream, downstream with up at Dallas or down. I don't even know if you're in the domain of Edgewood. If you can do anything with the signal there, or even down at Penn, maybe Penn and South Dallas, if you could do some controls there. However, feeding, and by the way, I'll go on record, I would like to see more restricted parking, particularly when you come down Forbes. Right as you come down Forbes, there are cars parked right up to the business there. There is no wiggle room to make a turn. So you do need some bump outs there. As you go back toward Guthrie, down South Braddock Avenue, I have copious pictures for you of cars parking all over the sidewalk here.
Well prepared,
Yeah, well, you know, you don't come, and again, I realize that this is outside of the project scope, but if you lived on this street, would you like to see a car literally parked cat-a-corner in front of your house on your sidewalk? We've had that happen. We've had cars park in front of Dive Bar in the travel lane the wrong direction and pull out into traffic in the wrong direction. There's a picture of that here. I've seen cars park on Frick Park across the way in the wrong direction, pulling out into the wrong direction. And if you get down to the corner of Guthrie, I have pictures of cars parked all over the crosswalk. So I think there's an opportunity for, yeah, that's the intersection. There's, if you go across the street, there are usually, during season, there are cars parked all over that crosswalk, making it totally unsafe. You really do need bump outs there to make sure that that corridor is fed. The curbs are in awful condition because the street has been paved up so far. The curbs have been destroyed. It's probably not fair to ask the residents to replace the curbs because we didn't do all the damage. I mean, I understand that there is so much curb damage there that cars park up over on our property. Finally, one street behind Braddock, Flotilla. I've got, again, that's annotated on the front page with pictures. I have another one here. I did my homework. Finally, Flotilla by the business there. There's a one-way sign you can see. That one-way sign is overgrown by the hedges. There used to be 2 do not enter signs there when the street was repaired, when the pole was replaced. They didn't put a big red do not enter on the left. It could use a do not enter. I have pictures of cars driving up the alley the wrong way. That's the cut through. And at the other end of the alley where the businesses are, you need some bump outs there because I have pictures of cars parked right there blocking the entrance, which restricts me from coming home and it restricts the businesses from getting supplied. So you really do need that. The businesses are a great aspect. It would be an asset to the building or to the neighborhood. It would be wonderful if we could increase parking, but we also do have to balance parking with safety. And again, look how close that car is parked. The picture that I have actually has a car about three feet into the alley. You just can't make the turn, especially when 2 cars are parked there. So again, that's outside the scope of the project, but I think if DOMI, in concert with this project, could address some of those other issues, that would also be a boon to improving the neighborhood and feeding the intersection better. Thank you. Anyone else need it? And again, I want to thank all the businesses because that's what makes our neighborhood great, being able to walk to the corner and get a drink, get some pizza, etc.
And don't take away all my parking.
What?
Don't take away all my parking spots.
And that's you need
That's
some
my
bump
biggest
outs.
concern here, guys. Everybody is all these 3 businesses.
We have a line.
We've got comments here. If you're going to make a comment, I ask that you join the line. I'm going to join at the end of the line and ask some comments from Zoom as well.
I kind of have 20 seconds for John. That was really well prepared. I can't respond to all of this. A lot of this rises.
I don't expect you to respond. It's just
Very, very thoughtful, well-researched. There's some of this that rises to the level of your typical 311 request. We're just going to put it in the 311 system. My engineer indicated that left turn signals from Forbes Avenue in both directions turning onto their respective Braddock was not warranted.
That's not 630,000.
That, I don't know how you all feel about those turns. There isn't I see a head shake right there. Another diagram. Y'all are good. I'm willing to go back and reconsider that. It would be a lagging left turn. I don't know if you've seen the flashing yellow arrow. It only comes up if there's a car stuck there waiting to make their turn. The pro is that you get a very short 5-second clearance phase where you get a green arrow. I'm pretty open to putting that in most places. The small con to that is that it makes your signal cycle, I see you. Your signal cycle longer. If this room is very much in agreement you want this, I'm probably not going to overthink it and just add it to the project. I'm gonna meditate on that. If more people in line lend support to that, I think it's a pretty simple solution that adds upwards of 10 to 12 seconds per signal cycle, which at a 100-second signal cycle is noticeable. There will be slightly higher congestion. We have to live with congestion. So I hear you loud and clear. That's the biggest comment I'm taking away in terms of thinking of a change.
You could also try it for a time and see how it works. And,
I'm pretty flexible. If we're replacing a signal, I'd rather go higher with infrastructure than lower. So I'm very open to thinking on that.
Hi, my name is Kate Fasell. I live on East End Avenue. Thanks really very much for the design and doing this meeting. 3 quick points. We are really fortunate to have a crossing guard at that intersection. She may not live in this neighborhood, but I hope you reached out to her for feedback because she's probably spent more time at that intersection than anybody in this room.
Yeah, the previous crossing guard saved my child's life.
Sure. I've been here. It was a few years back, but I have spoken with the crossing guard. We'll reach out again.
Great. And then my biggest concern is about safety in that intersection with cars running red lights. And I don't think I saw anything in your design, aside from perhaps shortening the crossing distance, that would address that safety concern. I think it's a huge concern, the way cars run those red lights. And my third point is I wasn't exactly clear which lanes you're going to remove or which turns you're going to cut off. Maybe you could show us with the diagram. But my concern is that you have thought that through during rush hour. I heard you say something about these only being used a couple times an hour, but that may be averaged over 24 hours. During rush hour, it's really important to have all those lanes for people to make the turns when buses are stopped on Forbes and so on and so forth. Thank you.
Good comments.
Do you want the diagram?
Yeah, we can bring up the diagram. I think it's easier to do this as we go. Running red light, we will recalculate the yellow and red clearance intervals. That's like a pretty simple thing to do. I cannot fix behavioral problems more than that. And so your comment's completely true. It's a problem. It's everywhere. That's all we can do. The red lights will be bigger. They will be LED. They'll be brighter. And you've seen new signals, black poles, 12-inch units, they have the back plates of the yellow tape. So visibility is there. There is a demonstrated improvement based on that treatment. In terms of wanting just like people disobeying control devices, I can't. It's the biggest problem I have. I'd be out of a job if people follow those. And so your comment's very true. The third, where we are considering removing lanes, southbound Braddock, changing from what is currently a right turn lane and then a straight left lane. This is one of those trade-offs. It's going to turn to a single lane with the bike lane extending to the intersection.
Could you show us again?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's Braddock and that's Forbes.
And right and left.
My house is where that needle is up there.
All right, so your house is up here.
Yeah, that's me.
We're up here at the church.
Yeah.
This lane right here today has 2 lanes. It has a right turn only lane and it has a left straight lane. We are proposing extending this bike lane to the intersection and combining it into one single lane of traffic. I can't draw on this, but, and then this left turn would be prohibited. There would be signs restricting that left turn. The primary reason for doing that is that our traffic counts indicated there were fewer than 10 cars in a peak hour period that make that turn. The goal here is correctly pointing out that there is blockages when you remove lanes. For those 10 cars that come down here an hour, I don't want them blocking a single lane of traffic. That's why. I hope does that make sense? That makes sense. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question since you're up there? Please?
Sure.
Okay, if I'm coming up Forbes to make a left turn, from that direction, to make a left turn onto Braddock,
Yes.
I know you talked about the lights on the other side, the no turn on red, but they do get an arrow. And so as a result, cars coming this way on Forbes do not stop. And if you're making that left turn, is there any way to get a left turn signal?
That, I did discuss that briefly with John. I'm leaning towards doing that.
Because when the bridge was gone, we all got used to going that way.
Sure.
And it's like, why do I have to go all the way down East End Avenue to get onto the Parkway, whereas I could go up and make a left turn? Because I live right near there.
The trade-offs are it adds delay for everybody, but it's a small amount of delay.
Right.
And you can do it such that it's at the end of the cycle, so you would wait there for the whole time your green ball is showing. If you're still stuck there, there'd be detection that would pick you up, give you a left turn.
That would be great.
Don't consider this a promise, but I'm very strong.
That would be helpful.
When you say detection, is that like a sensor?
Yes. Yeah, sensor. If I get sidetracked, you gotta keep me in mind.
Let's try and focus on the questions over here, and then we'll circle back at the end. I'm seeing the line stop building, so maybe once everybody asks their questions there, we can take questions from the audience.
Yeah, I'll try to be brief.
Yes.
First of all, when I'm coming home from the Parkway and I hang that left onto East End Avenue, there is always a car parked at the corner. It is so dangerous. It's usually parked at the fire plug. There's already a fire plug there. Yeah, right there. Who has that air pointer? They did good. Yeah, right there. Like when you swing from Braddock Avenue onto East End into the neighborhood, there's always a car. It's illegally parked.
You mean on the Forbes?
Onto Forbes headed to East End.
Okay.
We need those holy things. You know those? Or something to stop people from parking. They're not going to obey. They are not obeying the fire plug.
I hear you.
So whatever it takes to protect that fire plug and that corner seems necessary to protect the businesses there, the access to everything that, you know, it is illegal. It should be illegal, but people are ignoring it. That whole corridor on that little chunk of Forbes is a disaster of illegal parking all the time. The police don't know we're down here, and there are cars parked in the gas station, up on the sidewalk. If you were in a wheelchair, you wouldn't be able to get down that sidewalk half the time for a car parked on the sidewalk. So I don't know what you can do about illegal parking in that corridor, but tickets would be beautiful, just something. And then I live, and like I said, where that pointer is, I live on an extremely dangerous part of East End Avenue. I live on the curve. We have accident after accident. So I'm concerned about your no left turn because it's going to force more people. I don't need more people in front of my house. The school buses already have accidents. We're arguing with the 2 charter schools because they send their school buses down there speeding down East End Avenue. I've lost a mirror. My tenant's lost a mirror. My next door neighbor's car has been totaled. I can list at least 6 people in that little area in the last 2 years who have either lost a mirror, had their car hit, or any of that. So anything, and then the next possible left for me to get home. So my first possible left is Edgerton, which is a steep cobblestone hill that nobody wants to drive down. My next possible left is Guthrie, which, as we've said, is blocked, crowded, hard to make a left off of Braddock onto Guthrie with the Braddock Avenue traffic coming this way. So I don't know if you eliminate my left-hand turn, what people are going to do is use East End Avenue as the bypass. They're not going to make that left off of Braddock down into the neighborhood. So if you and I are at Penn and Braddock,
I'm fine with that.
you know where. What? No, he's saying no left turn anymore. It's hard to make a left, but it's better than coming down Edgerton, which is impossible, or turning onto Guthrie, like a stop sign at Guthrie, something that gets me able to go home. That doesn't force everybody down East End Avenue.
My 2 quick comments, I hear you. My 2 quick comments are, traffic counts are the best tool we have. Are they perfect? No. You're unfortunately one of the small number of people that make that turn during the hour who's inconvenienced. I'm going to take another look again at what those options are. The biggest thing, everyone's talking about other issues. I understand that. It makes sense. I have to focus on this project.
I'm not talking about other issues. I'm trying to figure out how I get home.
Yeah.
You're taking away my way home from work.
Okay, I hear you. Let me make sure, let me go back and look, make sure there's a reason.
Do you know Edgerton?
I can
Edgerton is a steep, old, 100-year-old cobblestone street that nobody wants to, I don't drive down Edgerton. My car's 20 years old, and parts would fall off of it. And then the next left is Guthrie, which is very narrow with cars parked on both sides, and that crosswalk issue people were already talking about. So, I gotta get home.
Yeah.
So I'm the few, but I don't have any other way home.
Let's go back to the drawing board on that one. We're taking out comments.
Okay, because anything that forces more traffic onto East End Avenue, we already are absorbing every bypass in the city. People start flying down my street. So we would like one way on East End Avenue. The other thing is that anything that forces more traffic onto Flotilla Way, which behind my house is 2 ways, and people are wilding back there.
I believe it.
So even if that was one way, it might slow down some of the terrifying traffic behind my house. And then finally, I agree about the left turn signal at the thing on when we're vote.
I got you.
Thank you.
The reason you're counting the point that you turned on to from
Let's talk afterwards. I'll get you.
My name's Ken Doiner. I live on Briarcliff. I wanted to first say thank you for all the great work that you've done over the last 2 and 3 years since the collapse of the bridge, getting this back open again. Really grateful for everything that's there. I know that's been a lot of work and a lot of effort. We really appreciate it. Second thing, as it pertains to this intersection, I would say that I think the single most important thing is to keep the pedestrian-only cycle. One maybe goes without saying, but it is such an important part to the quality of life of the community. And for those of us, most of us who at some point in time find themselves walking to and through and around it. So it is an imperative. Maybe that it could be even improved upon by some curb modification to where Tracy was talking about with the fire hydrant on the right-hand side, or even considering where you're taking out the island, whether that curb in front of the church itself could be modified. I know it's a sharp turn, but it's still the less distance the better from a safety standpoint and a movement standpoint. The third thing is maybe there could be a celebration of the scramble intersection, do something unique in the middle of it. And, I don't know if that's copacetic with rules and whatnot, but it can be something that can be quite nice given the park space and the quality of life that facilitates. The second group of comments really has to do with kind of moving up towards Squirrel Hill. Kind of curious about how the painted left turn lane barrier is planning on tapering out and returning to 2 lanes once you're going past the intersection. Are you going back to the 2 lane of traffic? Are you planning on keeping the single lane of traffic, or perhaps moving the right-hand travel lane away from that curb? It moves very quickly now along the sidewalk. Without the little buffer there, it feels dangerous walking Squirrel Hill on the sidewalk side, forcing a lot of pedestrians into the bike lanes. And so just to be cognizant of that, thinking about how that works. I'm presuming on the south side of this, the painted areas there, that would be to facilitate bus dwell time, or I don't know what the plan is for the painted area there, but good to consider how that will be utilized for the buses or car services or whatever else might be pulling up there. Otherwise, it just gets filled with gravel. And then lastly, just so you're aware, there have been some tags on the Jersey barrier on the way up to Squirrel Hill. If you could get that taken care of, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
1 second.
Hi everybody, my name is Annie Makepeace. I live on East End Avenue. A cyclist, pedestrian, and a group of us got together last Monday, kind of did a citizens walkthrough, looked at some of the issues. Have it here, I'll hand it over. But the main point being is there's just a lack of communication for cyclists with the new trail getting on. So for instance, if you're coming from Forbes Avenue and you're crossing, there's nowhere that points you to get you off the road and get you onto the bike path right now. Hopefully we see some more communication. Definitely. The cyclists are, there's some conflict points now with cyclists and pedestrians. It's a little odd being a vehicle on the bicycle and sharing the bridge with pedestrians, especially coming from Forbes Avenue. You can really fly down that hill, so any guidance would be good. I see cyclists also kind of cutting through the park now, which there's children there. Just lots of areas that there could be potential issues. So yeah, the big thing is any communication would be great. Painted markers, signage. So
This is just a concept, and so when the final design is out, we didn't mention this, did we? I want to have bike detection for a bike signal. So I need a spot to have, so the bottom left-hand corner is a spot for a cyclist. You need to have a dedicated spot then in the queue, because it's above us. It's cameras or radar. No, loops are gone, no more loops. And so I want to do that in each corner. Top. We actually can do 3 of the corners, huh? There's bike, yeah, we can do all 3 of the corners. Yeah, have someone where a bike can sit and get a bike only face.
oh, awesome. Really excited about the changes, and additional bike lane would be great.
How you doing? Ed Smith. I live in the 700 block of Braddock Avenue. I have 3 children that live in this neighborhood that are cross that intersection all the time. I think it's extremely important to keep a pedestrian-only cycle on it and keep no turn on red. Every time there is a pedestrian cycle, someone turns on red right there, and that's the only safe place to cross Braddock Avenue is Forbes and Braddock, and it's not that safe. And all of this is pretty pointless until the traffic laws are actually enforced. We can change all of this stuff, but I don't know why the police aren't here tonight, and all traffic laws need to be enforced in this neighborhood. This is pointless until we actually write people tickets for running red lights and go out and enforce parking. So the police need to be doing that. That's it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Brian Chipkovitz, and I own the Park Pizza, the pizza shop closest to the intersection there. And I guess going off of what he said, I would rather see this $500,000 go to police and enforcement and traffic tickets than most of this project. My biggest concern is how many parking spots we're going to lose. There's 3 businesses that share parking on that. It's myself, Park Pizza and Cream, Phosphorus Restaurant, and Dive Bar. I'll use those parking spots on the side there. And also on the spots across the street by the park there. So I'm all for safety. I think the intersection can be vastly improved. My concern is the businesses and customers that aren't going to be parking there. They're going to be parking in front of everybody else's houses, or I'm not going to have any customers, one of the two, if there's no parking spots. And to me, the biggest safety issue with the entire intersection is when the power goes out. There's no police there. There's no backup power. So I would rather see this money go towards some sort of backup power source. So when the intersection, that's the biggest safety thing I've seen in the 11 years that I've been there, is when the power goes out, that's when the accidents happen. So on and so forth. So I would really like to know how many parking spots you guys are planning to take out in this process. All right. Those are my main comments. Thank you.
Comment 1, this is a state-funded grant, and so I have no choice. It's a specific traffic signal program, and so this is not, it's like 20% city match, 80% state, and it's very specifically earmarked for signals, so the funding isn't up for debate. The point about we're all struggling with enforcement. I know they are too. Everyone's struggling. You're not wrong. Parking, very few spots on a scale of 3 to 7, if I had to guess.
That's a lot.
It can be a lot. It's a trade-off we have to make when it comes to safety. And I have to balance so many.
No pedestrian issues, you're going to slow down traffic. I just don't see how this is beneficial to any of the businesses in the neighborhood. I just want everybody to know that.
Do you think
I hear you.
drives to your business?
No!
Well, let's stay on this. Yeah, no, I can't promise you anything, but I hear you, and we're going to take that into consideration.
Hi, thanks. I'm Marshall Hirschberg. I live in Squirrel Hill, and I coordinate and co-chair the Squirrel Hill Urban Coalition's Bicycle Pedestrian Committee. So we're here. We appreciate all the work that has been done and the improvements, especially that have been made from the intersection going into Squirrel Hill on the south side. One thing that we noticed when Annie mentioned that some of us were here last week, the all-walk signal is excellent. I want to echo Ken Doino's comments?
We're not getting rid of it.
Okay, I was going to say, we timed it, and it's about 5 seconds long, the pedestrian advance. And I was just wondering if a few seconds could be added on that to make it easier, especially people with the congestion too, to make it easier and more efficient for people to walk safely and avoid the bikes and the cars that are there. So a little extra length on that would be very good. And you mentioned something about a possible bus advance, or no, that's a bicycle advance that you mentioned. Is there any possibility for a bus advance too? That was some discussion about where the buses are turning from Forbes onto Braddock and in the other direction as well. I don't know if there's something like a bus and bike advance or something that could...
I would need either a dedicated bus lane or vehicle to infrastructure communication. And so we're trying that out with the BRT project in Oakland Uptown. Okay. It won't work out here until we get that technology in place.
Okay. Well, at least you're looking at it, yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
Hi, Brendan Slagreck, resident in the neighborhood. A few comments and a question. I think everybody said keep the pedestrian crossing. I think that's good. I don't think it's a good idea to have variable right on red timing. I think we should train drivers to not turn right on red ever when there's this many pedestrians at this intersection. So just keeping the turn signalized is a great idea. I have a controversial opinion that people parking close to the intersection makes the cars slow down when they're turning around the corner. So I'm not sure. I think if you put bump outs there, people might park on the bump outs, and then the intersection will be even more messed up. I don't know, but usually I'm all for bump outs. A bump out at the next intersection further south on Braddock would be great, but I don't know. That's a tricky intersection. And then finally, my question is just, can you say more about the bike lane? You're taking out a lane on Forbes. I was very disappointed to see Forbes go back as a highway, a 4-lane highway, and not stay a 2-lane road after the bridge opened. If you could keep that bike lane all the way up across the bridge and separate it from the sidewalk, that would be great to get the bikes coming down that hill away from the pedestrians, away from that transit stop that's right there. People are driving 50 plus miles an hour on Forbes because it's 4 lanes wide. People are moving from the sidewalk on the north side to the protected bike lane because nobody wants to walk next to a 50-mile-an-hour car. So if you're taking a lane, take a lane, put a boulevard on the sidewalk, put a protected bikeway on the street, get the bikes off the sidewalks, that would be great. But if you have more to say about how that bike intersection or infrastructure is going to work right there, I couldn't really tell what that was. Like, are they coming down off the sidewalk? Or
the shared use path ends, they turn in, they go around the trees, they share the sidewalk, they pop out the corner. We want to use the space on Forbes Avenue to have bikes go left around the trees, have something built up, maybe to grade, and you're right, we're moving lane of traffic on Forbes to do it. So you have 5 total lanes on Forbes. You shift everything up, which actually might be pretty decent from a lane configuration alignment standpoint. And just basically have more space to terminate the shared use path / bicycle facility. I don't have budget to extend anything beyond, even though your comments, I agree with most of what you're saying personally. When there's budget for such a thing, you'll have a very receptive audience.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Mike, do you need a second? Mike's been taking a lot of questions. He's going to take a second to catch his breath. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah, I'm Erin Kelly. I live in the neighborhood down towards Swissvale there. I'm excited about the changes. I was also one of the people that went with Annie. Some of my comments are in the handout that she gave you. The question I have, most of my questions have been answered, and I'm excited about the changes. The question I have is there a good path for a cyclist coming from Forbes inbound to get onto the bike track, and with somebody's coming outbound, I guess eastbound, how to what if they want to go down to East End or a less traveled road?
I don't follow.
Yeah.
The first part is I do want to have a bike staging area with a bike signal.
So that will be there, yeah.
So you just wait for your bike signal.
And then you just
And
can
then
go
it would be
wherever you want.
You could go wherever you choose.
That sounds awesome. Mostly I'm a pedestrian at this intersection. One more question that is, you said that January 2024 will be the final design posting. Is there an opportunity for feedback then, or do we have to do it all now? And is this going to be online? And
Think about that.
Yeah.
I mean, these are good comments. There will be something, the feedback will be in more of a written form. We're going to accommodate everything we can here. We're not going to get everything.
Yeah.
And if there's something that you see that's
There were some things on this presentation that I didn't quite understand, like the traffic timings. I just didn't quite understand that page. So, having a little more background about that would be helpful. But we can do that, not here.
We can also work on like an FAQ page to post on Engage. I've been taking down questions from the chat as well, so we'll try and compile some of these answers into something on the FAQ that anybody can reference after this. The slides will also be posted. And for those of you who are in the room, as well as those on Zoom, this meeting is being recorded, so there will be opportunities to review it later.
Hi, Sabina Dietrich, East End Avenue. I've got a couple. Want to support the people who want to have a little bit longer for the walk signal. If you're doing the diagonal and you have to cross that last loop where they're turning, for some people it might be a little bit limited. I also want to come back to Tracy's point on the left turn onto Forbes from Braddock. Counting the 10 count doesn't count the cars that turn left at Tuscarora, Brashear, Waverly, Edgerton, and Guthrie. And the way a lot of people do it is, it's clear, I'll turn. It's clear, I'll turn. It's clear, I'll turn. They pick the one that's clear. The left, they don't go up to Forbes to turn left. That's why there's only 10, because it's impossible to turn left. Those 10 people in the count were probably out-of-towners. They weren't from our neighborhood. No one in this room turns left except, so when you think about, Tracy really raises an important point. Taking that away is going to put more cars off these other ones. There's side streets with the kids. The two of them are on the street, Waverly and Brashear. Going down to Guthrie's tough. There's a lot of accidents. A lot of people hit the car coming, at them. They're turning. So that it's not safe right now to turn left off Braddock, whether it's Tuscarora, Brashear, Waverly, or Edgerton, or Guthrie.
And if you make a left at Guthrie, then you're back at the Forbes and East End intersection, which is so dangerous that I can recreational stand on my porch and wait for accidents. Cop car got hit over the summer.
They're nicer to you. They wouldn't let me say anything, Tracy.
Somebody talked over me.
So at any No, you want to think about that. Eliminating that left turn is going to create other problems on the other streets. So you want to think about what that left might look like, and that it doesn't look like it is today, but it doesn't look like it's eliminated, because I don't think that would be the right move. Second, I said about ending off. Since people moved out of the neighborhood, we love a four-way stop at Penn Avenue and Braddock Avenue. Anybody that walks in that corner, that one is really dangerous. And I know that involves PennDOT. It makes it a little bit more complicated. And for our neighbors, maybe it's time to thinking about some, raised pieces, maybe on East End, like they have on Kelly Street, to slow down traffic, some other traffic calming, particularly in the long block on East End.
Did you all submit a calming application for East End?
I don't think so.
So many times.
Yeah, I was going to say
we've had 3 traffic studies and we don't get the results. 15 years I've been trying to get traffic slowed down on
East End traffic calming. I've got a lot of traffic calming requests now, so I can address that after. I think I have your email from the sign-in, so we'll be in touch.
Probably, but yeah, it's kind of been endless.
Yep.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Hi, Kenneth, Park Place. Have a detailed proposal to give to you. Emphasizes many of the things that people talked about, such as no parking areas and left turn lanes. Thank you.
It's the most I've ever gone from
This neighborhood changed the Walgreens. That Walgreens up there wanted to be different than they are. We didn't like it, so it's a different Walgreens.
Ken Krinsky from Braddock Road.
Take a look.
I think with all these people here, it would be a nice project to ask the mayor's office, the city police, to put an initial motorcycle or two in the parking lot of in the area there to enforce the fact that you're coming down at 45 miles an hour or 50 miles an hour instead of 25 miles an hour. Another question is, could there be any sort of calming device, like Beechwood Boulevard has, is to slow down the people coming down? If we could get traffic under 30 miles an hour, we would have, I think that people feel entitled. I'm going 45, if I go even faster, I can make the turn quick. We need some way to intimidate the drivers to follow the rules. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brian. I live on East End Avenue, 500 block. I just want to reiterate, I think it really doesn't make any sense to get rid of that left turn off of Forbes off of Braddock onto East End. I mean, the amount of traffic, the amount of difference that I think that would make in the long run would be negligible. And for those of us that live on East End Avenue, it's really probably one of the safest ways we can get there off of Braddock. So again, that's, yeah, and you know, if you have to go through that and turn onto Guthrie, that's much less safe. And then you got to come back and you can't ever see what's coming when you're trying to cross Forbes Avenue Extension. Thank you.
Hi. I have a few questions for clarification and then a comment. I'm Caitlin Worth. I'm the pastor here at Waverly Presbyterian Church.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We
Thank
love
you to
hosting.
Waverly
So,
Presbyterian Church.
message to the community: contact us if you need hosting. But two questions. One for the island that's going to be removed. Where will that pole then go? Will that pole be removed? Will it go to the corner in front of our steps? Like, what is the thought there?
Move the control to in front of the church.
No, the church is pretty. Don't mess it up.
Wait, hold on here. Okay, so let's back it up. We're going to have to put a pole somewhere. The ideal, we're going to try and maximize as much sidewalk space to the current.
I'm not saying no, I'm just curious.
Oh, no,
I didn't know
this
where it was going.
There has to be a pole in every corner.
Yeah. So that'll be, like, there's one there, I guess. So is it kind of going to be next to it, replace? I don't know if you know those details yet, but.
We don't know them either, but my goal is to build some extra sidewalk space there.
Okay.
We also have to accommodate 53-foot long
Part of my
trailers.
reason for asking that is because we actually have a court hearing coming up that our sidewalk is damaged in that exact area. And they need us to fix that. Unfortunately,
I thought we already solved that.
Well, no, we still have notifications to attend court in 2 weeks. But
Can you forward that to me?
I would love to.
So I'm planning on replacing some sidewalk in front of the
Excellent.
spot.
So that answers that question.
Yeah.
But part of the reason for that is because with that island, trucks, when they try to come through, will often go up onto the sidewalk. So imagining getting rid of that will resolve that problem. But as one of our property people pointed out to me, having just the one lane coming through, we should also probably consider truck turning radius, because otherwise we'll still have trucks turning onto that sidewalk there, or issues with whatever else that entails.
The left turn stacking from Forbes. If you're coming down Forbes, you're going to make a left.
No, she's talking about a
Oh, I was talking about different, but
I understand, but if people stack up too close to the intersection, a truck can't make that radius.
yes.
I need people to stop by the stop bar. But you're right, that does happen. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then my other clarification question is, so the extending of the bike lanes, is that also happening on the church side? Is that where I see those like black and white on Forbes, across from the park? Are you also extending the bike lane? Or did I misunderstand?
It would terminate at the intersection. So southbound Braddock
Okay.
I'm not sure how it's going to look. Paint, maybe if we can build something that'd be fun. it's going to terminate, and then it's going to either be able to go with a, ideally a bike signal.
That's fine. I just want to make sure
Yeah.
everything's coordinated because, like you said, I'm hearing from this and that, and then we also have a bus shelter going in. Ride PRT is putting a bus shelter in on Braddock, just past the driveway here. So I'm just making sure that doesn't, you know, be thinking about
Good comments.
all those
Thank you.
things. Okay. Anything else I'm missing, Brian? Brian's my property guru.
Yeah. No, you covered it all.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
Just had another comment. How do we find out about how many parking spots it'll be in this process? Is my first comment. And then also, if you do decide, and it sounds like this is already going ahead, whether it sounds like I'm for everything except for the sidewalk extensions because of the parking situation. I'm all for the traffic, increased safety. But how long is the construction going to be? Because that also is going to directly affect my customers sitting outside. During this construction, we had COVID, we had the bridge collapse, and now you guys are hitting businesses with this again. So I just want you guys to be cognizant of that. You're really going to affect the businesses in this area.
Engage page will be the best spot we'll have once the design is fully fleshed out. We're too early to have numbers. And then the construction, it's also going to come later. A job of this magnitude, I would guess, would be roughly, we did a similar job at East Liberty, Broughton, Frankstown, that took 3 months. But it's not going to be your whole corner screwed up for 3 months. They move corner to corner. It will be a hindrance to an extent, absolutely.
We'll do this one. My name is Seth Bush. I work for Bike Pittsburgh. I also live in Swissvale and bike through this area and walk through this area and recreate in Frick Park all of the time, and used to live over on Rebecca Ave, so I used to be in this neighborhood once upon a time as well. I'm so excited about this. I'm really excited to see the attention to detail, especially the bike signals, possibly getting the radar so that it's actually timed properly and we don't have to just wait aimlessly. Really careful attention taken to pedestrian care as well. Just very, very grateful for a lot of the thought that's gone into this, and really great interaction from the audience here so far. Something that I've heard consistently from this group is concern about the speed of people coming in off of these 4-lane, practically highway that has been built along the bridge. And so my question is, in what way does this, or just bottom line, does this intersection design set us up for a future lane diet to reduce the amount of lanes so that we can, bottom line, calm traffic on Forbes coming in from Squirrel Hill? I know that's out of the scope of this project, but I'm curious, does this get us ready for reducing lanes and calming traffic in the long term?
We're taking the lane from Forbes as part of this. Right, when you think about road diets, the way I think about it is you have your beginning of your pipe, the end of your pipe. Every single feeder into Forbes Avenue inbound is a single lane of traffic. So in my mind, you don't need 2 lanes of traffic. You need your consideration comes to your next signalized intersection, which is 3/4 mile away. And so I would say this is actually laying down the framework for such of that. Congestion comes at intersections usually, not in between. In between is a chance for people to speed.
Yep. Thanks.
Yep. Thanks, Jay.
Hi, I'm Emily Keebler. I live in Regent Square, a little closer to the other business district, and travel through here all kinds of ways. I guess first I'd just like to say I really think you could have done a better job with the drawing. Like, I feel like I still don't fully understand everything that's changing, and I think a lot of people have mentioned questions, and so it would have just saved us time. Like, I don't understand I don't see any bump outs on there. So, but I imagine a bump out is the big bulbous thing that's going to reduce the crossing distance. Is that accurate? Because that will then, I think, some of the talk about the parking when you turn around the corner, if you have this big bulbous thing sticking out, that'll make that a lot easier.
Your points, in defense of us, we're early enough that we don't have the people necessarily. Like, ideally, you're going to get a better drawing once we're trying to take in feedback. We'll flesh it out. I can see where you're coming from, though. Yeah, we see it all day. And so it's like, oh, this
Right,
makes sense.
yeah,
No, you're not
exactly.
wrong. It's a good comment.
And yeah, and the sensors you talked about, or detectors, exactly where will those be, which lanes will they infect, all that kind of stuff. I feel like I don't understand that. But so I guess I'd just love to see maybe a follow-up meeting that explains that, or very clear drawings that then can get sent to everybody who's here.
Probably the latter.
But specifically, I think that you just answered the gentleman in front of me that there's only going to be one lane going inbound on Forbes. Is the bus stop going to stay where it is? And if it does, then when a bus is stopped there, won't that kind of mess everything else up?
We're gonna, as part of this, hopefully, my PRT colleague didn't come tonight. This is going in front of them, any type of consolidation, any type of work we have to do, there's not gonna be a bus stop before it opens up to 2 lanes. We just have to figure that out later in design.
Okay, well, I would like to say it is great to have a bus stop there because you can
Okay.
catch the A and the B, and kind of
Gotcha.
wait and get one
Okay.
or the other. So I'd love to see it there, but I also could imagine if there is a bus, then you're going to get backups that maybe even block the intersection there. So
Okay.
people are turning left
Great
from
comment.
Braddock onto Forbes.
I'm going to ask 2 questions from Zoom before we move on. I'm just going to use a mic here. So the first question is, why can't a roundabout be considered here? I'll let Mike answer that. And I'm asking for the person on Zoom. They can't do it themselves. The other question is just a little bit more explanation about the eastbound bike lane from Forbes, where bicyclists are supposed to go from there, that turn.
We don't have right of way to do a roundabout. You need a lot more space for those. And so that's, even though I understand everyone's reaction, they are in every shape and form considered to be safer than signalized intersection. It requires the city to acquire a disproportionate amount of right of way, including from Frick Park. Well, we own Frick Park, but we're not going to build into Frick Park, so that's why. But roundabouts are considered to be substantially more safe than traffic signals. Am I going back to black?
Eastbound bikes, we don't know the particulars because we haven't really, this is a very early concept. We want to use some of the space in Forbes Avenue that's currently a right turn lane to allow bikes to go around those 2 or 3 trees that are right here, and then queue somewhere over here where they wait for a dedicated bike signal.
And would that include, if I wanted to make a left onto Braddock, would that dedicated bike signal help me,
No one's moving but the bikes.
Say that again?
No one's moving but the bikes.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's exclusive.
Quickly, 2 things. The first is that this isn't a businesses versus residents conversation, that my corridor is all businesses. I mean, Ronnie and I don't think of ourselves, but we're landlords. I can't pay my bills. I am a business. So the safety of my tenants and the accessibility and the livability of the neighborhood is my bread and butter. You are building me money. So I thank you for that.
Could you say that again?
You are building me money. For my grandchildren, whatever, I'm old now, but whatever it is, that is, so the safety at the corner is part of my bread and butter, and many of us are businesses. So we may have different priorities as businesses, but I don't want to be dismissed as just a resident versus business. I am business.
It's not happening.
Okay, well, all right. I'm not easily dismissed either. The other thing is the timing of your project. How does it correlate to our next nightmare when they close the bridge on the Parkway, when the Commercial Avenue Bridge is closed, and all of that traffic is routed through our neighborhood?
We'll be in and out well before that.
Oh, thank you, Jesus.
No, I don't usually do public meetings for signal projects. Usually they're replaced in kind. This isn't a weird signal. This is a 3 to 4 month job. It's a 3 to 4 month disruption. So I get your concern. That's years away.
My name is Michelle. I'm confused about what lanes are going away. And I just need to say that I've lived in Pittsburgh long enough that when you say north, south, east, west, I don't know what way you're talking about.
I say up and down.
The only lane, no, that's a good comment. The only lane that's considered for removal, everything's staying the same, nothing is changing. Southbound Braddock. It's inbound, I don't know how else to stop.
Braddock, are you coming from Penn Avenue?
From Penn.
From Penn.
From Penn.
Okay.
It currently has a short right turn lane on a scale of 75 feet.
Yes.
That will be a bike lane extension. That's the only lane change. And that leads to a change in congestion too, of course.
There's the other removal of the lane on Forbes.
That I'm not as concerned about because that's a receiving lane. When you get your congestion, it's your lanes approaching the signal, not leaving them, in almost all cases.
So the lane in front of the church on Braddock Avenue to turn up Forbes is going away.
Correct.
Okay, so I think that the busiest time of morning for that lane, or the busiest time for that lane is in the morning, when the morning commuters know what they're doing, and the people on Braddock Avenue turning left onto Forbes,
Right.
left onto Forbes, coming from Regent Square, from the Parkway, turning left, can work compatibly with people coming from Penn Avenue. So there's two people, like, they both know that they have their lane, that the left-hand people can turn and the right-hand people can turn simultaneously. What's going to happen when that lane goes away and two people are trying to turn at rush hour in the morning?
That's a great question. I'm very against anything that has two turning movements sharing a space from a safety standpoint. And so it leads to congestion increase. And so for me, the number one things I never, unless it's like we're talking the Sawmill Run Boulevards of the world, West Liberty Avenues, I have zero desire to have a left turn and a right turn go at the same time and then enter their respective lanes. It helps congestion, but that's something I do not care for that in any capacity in a neighborhood. It's going to lead, we did have, and this is on us, we're going to clean up our Engage page. During the AM peak, you can expect to spend anywhere from probably,
You want to take a look?
yeah. So the difference, southbound, it all depends on how many people press the ped button. So conservatively, it's 75% of them. It's going to be an extra 2 minutes to get through that intersection. That's a change. It's a big change, without a doubt. That's a trade-off that we're considering in terms of bike safety versus congestion. It's a hard trade-off to consider. It's a hard decision.
Okay.
It's part of my department's mission and also our policy. So I'm basically following policies in terms of making a safe bike connection.
So you're taking a car lane away in deference to bicycles.
Correct. But the one thing I will also, I need a chance to respond. I need a chance to respond. You're taking away a small amount of capacity, so 5 cars can go in that bike lane. So in terms of queuing distance, right, it's about a 75-foot right turn lane. Does that sound about right? I'm like going off my head. It's hard.
About 100, 120.
100? Okay. So we're talking about 6 to 7 cars. The car's allowed to give them 20 feet. So the queuing is not really there for queuing space. It really just depends on how fast people take that right turn. So they can go. There's no conflict at that point because it's the pet exclusive phase. So if there were pedestrians there and we were having to like break up right turns, that's a free-flowing right turn movement. And it's basically consolidating that into one free-flowing lane instead of 2 free-flowing lanes.
So it seems like there might need to be some kind of coordination with people coming from Penn turning right, people coming from Hutchinson turning left, because they're both coming into one lane, and so you can't have them both turning at the same time.
I don't follow that.
So you got people coming from Penn Avenue south on Braddock toward Forbes. They're coming from Penn toward Forbes, and they want to make a right-hand turn onto Forbes heading towards Squirrel Hill. You got people coming from Hutchinson toward Forbes, and they want to make a left lane.
The Parkway.
The Parkway. Hutchinson is the Parkway. One's coming north on Braddock, one's coming south on Braddock. One is going to turn right onto Forbes, one is going to turn left onto Forbes. If they both come at the same time, they're both turning into one lane.
Left turns are supposed to yield to oncoming traffic. And so that's,
Well,
yeah,
I'm
they
just
have
saying,
to.
but I'm just
I
saying,
hear
that,
you.
that seems to me, as I'm picturing it, that seems to me that it could create an issue that you might want to
Totally.
time the light for at some point.
Absolutely, yes.
We have another Zoom question, which is about the new poles and any obstructions to wheelchairs at the intersections where new poles might go in.
These things are hard to put in the sidewalk. We take every single measure, precaution, we go to at length to make sure we put them in a location that maintains your 4-foot ADA clearance. I don't anticipate to have the utility concerns I found here at other projects. So I'm bullish about it being an easier job to construct compared to others. All pole placement locations are generally ADA and utility conflicts are the two considerations.
And not aesthetics. I mean, the steps to the church are beautiful. I would hate, I don't know, from my church.
I'm not putting it in front of the steps of the church.
Okay, good.
No, I have moved poles from other jobs that are by windows. If there's someone else other than like PennDOT will build signals, I have asked them to move controller cabins. Like, I can't be perfect, but if it's by a window, you don't want it by your window. I don't want it by my window. So I think about that.
God would get you for it.
Or we'll all write you letters.
Can I ask a question? So, Michelle and I have a little misunderstanding, and we need to clear it up before we leave here. It'll make for a poor evening. What I thought I heard you say first was southbound from Penn, you could make that right turn up towards Squirrel Hill on Forbes. She heard you say you were taking that lane away, and what you said a few moments ago sort of reinforced that. The only thing you're taking away is the southbound short left turn.
No, this is the lane being gone does not prohibit someone from turning right. It means your vehicular traffic is consolidated into one lane instead of two.
So
that right turn
it'll stop the straight through traffic.
No, right turns have no conflicts.
Okay.
Yeah,
It'll
so
be redesigned
I
to
understand.
eliminate that first lane, where bikes will then be.
You'll still be permitted to make a right turn southbound towards Squirrel Hill across the bridge. Good, thank you.
All right.
Well, can I have one last? And so, yeah, I understand why some of the confusion is coming here. The few things I want to reiterate are the current signal today is an old signal. It's fixed time. It does not respond to the environment. And so if we were to look at all these changes in congestion, aside from that 1 to 2 hour slice of day, it should be a net gain. So if you come through at 9:30 p.m., it's going to be quick. Like, you're not going to sit there and then wait for it to go through every single cycle that it's fixed time, because that's how fixed time signals operate. It's going to be better. It's going to be worse during AM congestion, without a doubt. Is that the right decision? I think so. I don't know perfectly. No one does. And so it just goes into that whole balancing act we do of safety for all users. It's hard. So
$600,000.
That's 80% state money. It makes you feel better. I can't make everyone feel better. So that's and the biggest things I hear all the time: safety, 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 and that comes with a trade-off, which can be congestion. And so I understand the bike lane is one discussion, but some of the other things, such as building in turn signals, that adds congestion. Extending the length of the pet exclusive phase, probably the right decision. That adds congestion. And so when push comes to shove, when this project is built, next year, my only request of you all is that you remember that these decisions come at a trade-off, and when congestion gets worse, at least know that we tried, and that this is the price we all have to pay for living in the city.
And when businesses are pissed off too and don't have any customers and leave.
I doubt that you're going to have customers. I'm going to be one of your
They only have
customers.
my parking spots.
Sabina walks 8 blocks to get to your
That is
place.
a lot of parking spots to take away from the business.
We haven't settled on that.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all so much. We're only at 7:20. I think Mike is probably tired of answering questions. But if there are any last questions, I also, there are some people that may not feel comfortable standing up in front of everybody asking a question. I'm going to ask Domi to hang around for a couple minutes for anybody that wants to ask them questions individually. I'm putting them on the spot by doing that. So again, I just ask that conversations are respectful, peaceful, considerate of the work that they're really trying to do, which is to make this crossing as safe as possible for as many people as possible. With that, thank you all again so much for coming out. Thank you, Domi, for preparing an excellent presentation, for answering questions. For the folks online, I apologize for some of the audio issues. Again, this is being recorded. We will put it up there. We'll try and compile an FAQ of some of the questions that were asked in the room. And yeah, with that, I guess go Steelers.